Let's talk about what nobody tells you about financial planning in 2026. You've probably heard the standard advice 1,000 times. Budget your money, invest in index funds, cut out the lattes, maybe learn to code. And yet, if you're like most people watching this, your financial situation hasn't fundamentally changed in the last 2 or 3 years despite following that advice. Here's why. The game has shifted dramatically in the past 18 months, and most financial content is still giving you strategies that worked in 2015. With AI disrupting entire industries, inflation reshaping purchasing power, and the skills market evolving faster than ever, the old playbook isn't just outdated, it's actively holding you back. Today, we're building a complete financial growth framework for 2026 that addresses the real challenges you're facing right now. By the end of this, you'll have a clear, actionable system to audit your money, accelerate your income, and build genuine freedom without burning out. Let's break down exactly how to do this. The new financial reality. First, we need to understand what's fundamentally different about building wealth in 2026 compared to even 3 years ago. The traditional model assumed stable career progression, predictable inflation rates, and a clear path from education to employment to retirement. Every single one of those assumptions has been disrupted. Job security means something completely different when AI can automate knowledge work overnight. Your salary today might put you in a comfortable middle-class position, but inflation has eroded purchasing power so significantly that the same lifestyle your parents had on half your income now costs 30 to 40% more in real terms. Third, create one small asymmetric opportunity this month. This could be as simple as reaching out to 5 people in your network about a freelance or consulting idea to test demand. It could be allocating 5% of your investment capital to a carefully researched individual stock or alternative investment. It could be spending 10 hours building the first version of a side project. The specific opportunity matters less than building the muscle of regularly creating optionality. The financial landscape in 2026 rewards speed, adaptability, and integrated thinking. The 3-pillar framework gives you a structure to operate effectively in that environment. Your money operating system provides stability and fuel. Your skill acceleration engine provides increasing income and capability. Your asymmetric wealth builder provides optionality and nonlinear upside. Together, they create a financial growth trajectory that's both faster and more resilient than traditional approaches. Start with those 3 actions this week, then run your first quarterly review in 90 days. I promise you'll be surprised at how much momentum you can build when you're working on all 3 pillars simultaneously instead of just trying to budget and invest your way to financial freedom. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I've seen people transform their financial trajectory in 12 to 18 months using this framework, not through getting lucky, but through systematic improvement across all 3 pillars simultaneously. A project manager I worked with used this system and went from $75,000 salary with minimal savings to a $130,000 salary, a $10,000 side income stream, and $40,000 in investments within 18 months. The key was that he was simultaneously improving his skills in Agile and AI tools, which led to a promotion and consulting opportunities. He used the income growth to fund more aggressive skill development and made a few asymmetric bets on early-stage companies in his industry, where he had insight. Not every bet worked, but the ones that did more than compensated for the ones that didn't. Action plan and closing. So here's your immediate action plan coming out of this. In the next week, do 3 things. First, sketch out your current 4-bucket allocation. Just estimate the percentages roughly. Don't obsess over precision. The goal is to see if your current financial structure roughly aligns with the framework or if there are major imbalances you need to address. If you're putting 5% toward growth and 0 toward asymmetric wealth building, that's valuable information. Second, identify your highest leverage skill stack opportunity. Based on your industry, your current role, and where you want to go, what combination of 2 to 3 skills would create the most value? Don't pick skills because they're trendy or because you feel you should learn them. Pick the combination that genuinely excites you and has clear market demand. Then identify one specific project or problem you can use to learn the first layer of that stack in the next 30 days. Let me show you how this plays out practically with a quarterly review system. Every 3 months, you're sitting down for about 90 minutes to run through this sequence. First, money operating system audit. Review your 4 bucket allocations. Are the percentages still appropriate based on your current situation? Look at your velocity metrics. Is each bucket performing its function effectively? Make any needed rebalancing decisions for the next quarter. Second, skill acceleration audit. Review the skills you invested in over the past quarter. Which ones translated into measurable income gains, career opportunities, or increased capability? Which were interesting but didn't create leverage? Based on what you learned, what's your skill focus for the next quarter? Are you stacking effectively or just accumulating random capabilities? Third, asymmetric wealth audit. Review your investment performance, but more importantly, review your optionality position. Did you create any new potential upside paths this quarter? Did any existing options mature into actual opportunities? Are there asymmetric bets you should place in the next quarter based on insights from your skill development or changes in your industry? Finally, integration review. This is where you look at how the 3 pillars interacted. Did skill gains translate into income growth that improved your bucket allocation? Did investment wins fund accelerated skill development? Did new capabilities open asymmetric opportunities you couldn't have pursued before? The integration review helps you identify the highest leverage activities across all 3 pillars rather than optimizing each one in isolation. I'll give you a real example from my own experience. Several years ago, I was working a stable consulting job. I started spending about 5 hours per week creating educational content online, not as a business initially, just sharing what I was learning. The downside was those 5 hours weekly. The upside was unclear, but potentially large if the content gained traction. After about 18 months, that content had built an audience that created multiple options. I could leverage it into speaking opportunities, consulting engagements at higher rates, a course business, or various other paths. I didn't know which of those would work best, but I'd created optionality through a relatively small time investment. Eventually, that optionality became a business that exceeded my consulting income. But even if it hadn't, the downside was just those 5 weekly hours which I would have spent on less productive activities anyway. The integration system. Now here's where the 3 pillars come together into an integrated system. Each pillar feeds the others in a reinforcing cycle. Your money operating system, Pillar 1, funds your growth engine bucket, which powers your skill acceleration, Pillar 2. Your skill acceleration increases your income and career options, which grows your foundation bucket and gives you more capital for Pillar 3. Your asymmetric wealth builder creates unexpected wins and new income streams that reduce pressure on your foundation bucket and fund more aggressive skill development. This is why the framework is dramatically more powerful than traditional financial planning. Traditional planning treats income as fixed, skills as static, and investing as the only wealth-building variable. That creates a very slow and vulnerable financial trajectory. The integrated 3-pillar approach treats everything as dynamic and interconnected. When one pillar accelerates, it pulls the others forward with it. In career, asymmetric might mean taking a position that offers equity or performance bonuses on top of a reasonable base salary, rather than a slightly higher fixed salary with no upside. You're giving up a bit of guaranteed income for the possibility of much larger total compensation if things go well. Or it might mean spending 10 hours per week building a side business or freelance practice while keeping your full-time job. Your downside is limited to those 10 hours weekly, but your upside could be a completely new income stream or even a full business that replaces your job income. In skills, asymmetric means focusing your learning time on capabilities that could open entirely new opportunities rather than incrementally improving at your current function. Learning enough about AI tools to become the go-to person in your organization has asymmetric payoff. The time investment might be 20 to 30 hours, but the career opportunities, raise potential, or consulting possibilities that could emerge are worth multiples of that time investment. The key principle across all asymmetric strategies is optionality. You're creating situations where you have multiple possible positive outcomes and limited downside. Compare this to the traditional approach where you're locked into a single path and counting on steady linear progress. When that path gets disrupted, which happens regularly in today's environment, you have no alternatives. When you've built asymmetric optionality into your financial life, disruption in one area doesn't destroy your overall trajectory because you have multiple threads that can compensate. For 2026 specifically, I'm seeing enormous leverage in combinations that involve AI, tool proficiency, whatever your domain expertise is, and some form of systems thinking or process design. The person who can use AI tools to enhance their core expertise and then systematize that enhanced output is going to dramatically out-earn peers who only have the core expertise. This is true whether you're in creative fields, analytical fields, or operational roles. The asymmetric wealth builder. Let's move to Pillar 3, your asymmetric wealth builder. This is about investment and income strategies that create nonlinear returns. The traditional approach was linear, put in X amount of money or time, get back 1.05x consistently over long periods. That works. It's how most people build wealth if they're disciplined. But it's slow, and it requires you to have significant capital or income to work with in the first place. Asymmetric strategies are about creating situations where your potential upside is dramatically larger than your downside risk. This doesn't mean gambling or taking reckless risks. It means being intentional about finding opportunities where you can risk small amounts of capital, time, or effort for potentially large returns, while making sure that even if things don't work out, your downside is contained and acceptable. Let me give you concrete examples across different domains. In investing, asymmetric might mean allocating 80% of your investment capital to standard index funds for stability, but putting 10% into carefully researched individual companies where you have genuine insight, and 10% into learning investments like taking a course that could increase your income. The upside of the individual stocks and skill investment can be multiples of your input, while your downside is limited to that 20% allocation. This approach feels less impressive than saying you completed a comprehensive certification program, but it's dramatically more effective at translating learning time into income growth. I worked with a marketing manager who used this method to stack skills in AI, prompt engineering, basic data analysis, and marketing automation. She didn't become an expert in any single domain, but the combination of those three skill sets at an intermediate level made her uniquely valuable for companies trying to modernize their marketing operations. Her income increased by 60% in 14 months, and she had multiple competing offers because there simply aren't many people with that specific skill stack yet. The key is being strategic about which skills to stack. You want combinations that are in demand, not yet commoditized, and genuinely interesting to you. The demand piece is obvious. You need market value. The not yet commoditized piece is critical. Once a skill becomes universal, it stops commanding premium pay. 5 years ago, basic social media management was a high-value skill. Today, it's table stakes. The genuinely interesting piece matters because you'll need to continuously update these skills, and that's unsustainable if you hate the work. So how do you identify high-leverage skill stacks for your situation? Start by looking at job postings 2 levels above your current position. What combinations of skills do they emphasize? Look at people in your industry who've experienced rapid career or income growth. What skill combinations do they have that most of their peers lack? Look at technology and platform shifts happening in your field. What skills will be necessary to work with or alongside those new tools? The skill acceleration engine. Now let's talk about Pillar 2, your skill acceleration engine, because this is where most people leave the most money on the table. The traditional approach to skills was accumulate credentials through formal education, then gradually build experience through your job. That timeline is too slow for today's environment. By the time you've spent 2 years getting a certification or degree, the skills landscape has often shifted significantly. The updated framework focuses on just-in-time skill stacking in high-leverage domains. Let me break that down. Just-in-time means you're learning skills right before you need to apply them, not years in advance. This keeps your learning focused and immediately applicable. Skill stacking means you're building combinations of complementary skills that create unique value, not trying to become the absolute best at a single skill where you're competing with millions of others. High leverage domains means you're selecting skill areas where small improvements in capability translate to large improvements in income or opportunity. Here's how this works practically. Instead of deciding you need to learn Python and spending 6 months working through textbooks before you feel ready to apply it, you identify a specific problem in your current work that can be solved with basic Python automation. You learn exactly enough Python to solve that specific problem, which might take 2 weeks of focused effort. You implement it, generate immediate value, and build confidence. Then you identify the next specific application and learn the next layer of skills. The key difference from traditional budgeting is flexibility within buckets and intentionality across buckets. If you overspend in bucket 1 during a particular month, you're not tracking every individual expense category to figure out where you went wrong. You're asking a higher level question. Is my bucket 1 allocation realistic for my actual lifestyle, or do I need to either adjust my lifestyle or rebalance my buckets? This reduces decision fatigue while maintaining financial awareness. Here's where it gets interesting. Every quarter, you run what I call a velocity audit. You're calculating how efficiently each bucket is performing relative to its purpose. Is your foundation bucket actually providing stability and quality of life, or are you chronically stressed about money despite allocating 60% there? Is your growth engine bucket generating measurable increases in your earning capacity, or is it funding random courses and tools that don't compound? Is your wealth multiplier bucket actually growing, or is it sitting in cash being eroded by inflation? This quarterly audit lets you make informed reallocation decisions based on actual results rather than theoretical optimal percentages. Maybe you discover that increasing your growth engine bucket to 25% and reducing your wealth multiplier to 5% for 2 years will accelerate your income so dramatically that you can then flip those percentages and accumulate wealth faster than if you'd maintained balanced allocations the whole time. The kind of dynamic strategic thinking is what separates people who make steady progress from people who create exponential outcomes. The 3-pillar framework. So let's build that framework. I call this the 3-pillar system, and it's specifically designed for the financial environment we're actually operating in. Pillar 1 is your money operating system. Pillar 2 is your skill acceleration engine. Pillar 3 is your asymmetric wealth builder. Each pillar has to function independently, but the real power comes from how they interact and compound each other. Most financial advice focuses entirely on Pillar 1 and maybe touches Pillar 3. Almost nobody addresses Pillar 2, which is actually the highest leverage point for most people. Let's start with Pillar 1, your money operating system. This is about creating a financial structure that's both resilient and flexible. The old approach was rigid budgeting, where every dollar has a predetermined category and you track everything obsessively. That approach fails for most people because life doesn't cooperate with rigid categories, and the psychological burden of constant tracking leads to burnout and eventual abandonment of the system. The updated approach for 2026 uses what I call dynamic allocation buckets. Instead of micromanaging every expense category, you're allocating your income across 4 macro buckets with clear purposes. Bucket 1 is your foundation, 50 to 60% of your income. This covers essential living expenses and basic quality of life. Bucket 2 is your freedom fund, 15 to 20%. This is your emergency buffer plus opportunity capital. Bucket 3 is your growth engine, 15 to 20%. This funds skill development, business experiments, and career advancement. Bucket 4 is your wealth multiplier, 10 to 15%. This is pure investment capital designed for long-term compound growth. Here's the shift that matters most. We've moved from an economy that rewarded credentials and consistency to one that rewards adaptability and asymmetric value creation. What does that mean practically? It means your college degree or professional certification, while still valuable, is no longer sufficient protection. It means traditional career ladders where you put in your time and gradually advance are being compressed or eliminated entirely. And it means the gap between people who understand how to leverage new tools and systems versus those who don't is widening exponentially. I've watched this play out across dozens of industries. Marketing professionals who spent a decade building expertise in traditional campaign management suddenly competing with individuals who can use AI tools to produce the same output in a tenth of the time. Software developers who specialized in routine coding tasks being displaced by AI assistants, while those who focus on system architecture and problem solving see their value increase. Financial analysts who spent years mastering Excel models being outpaced by people who understand how to prompt AI for financial modeling and then apply strategic thinking to the results. This isn't meant to be discouraging. It's meant to wake you up to the fact that financial strategies built for stability and gradual progression don't work in an environment of rapid change and widening outcomes. The good news is that the same forces creating disruption also create unprecedented opportunity for people who adapt quickly. But you need a framework designed for this new reality, not one ported over from a different economic era.